Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, Marketing Tips and Tools for Startups Expanding Business in Brazil. We like to welcome our guests in Brazil. They are going to help us to understand better how to make an effective marketing strategy to reach the Brazilian market. So if you are an international startup, please go ahead and ask your questions after the webinar finish. We are going to pay attention to all your questions through contact@latamstartup.biz and to the hashtag LatAm Startups. If you have any questions, you can also have your questions in Google Hangout. You have a place there to ask questions. And this is the month when Brazil is in the spotlight. So I'd like to welcome our moderator, Rafael Pinto. He's in Rio, and he's our business associate there, and he's going to ask the question to our guests. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you to all the experts and the speakers we have in this webinar session. This is our last session of the whole month that we've been focusing Brazil, and we really have some outstanding speakers and experts joining us. So thank you again. I wanted to quickly give a quick bio, a big revision of the bio from each one, so you know who's joining us. We have Mr. Fabio Vieira, who's an advertising specialist, and he's been working for 10 years in creation and producing campaigns for clients like Volkswagen, the Metro in Rio, Kawasaki, Globosat, which is the biggest media company in Brazil, Bob's, Fashion Mall, and a whole range of other public and private clients. He's also worked with campaigns, marketing campaigns, political marketing campaigns as one of the writers and the chief editors in the years 2004, 2006, and 2008. He's also the director of their office in the northeast part of Brazil, and since 2012 he's been the director of Grupo Mesa, which is a company that works with different segments in the areas of communication. We also have Felipe Collins Figueiredo, who is the head of marketing at ACE. It's a 3-time winner of Latin America's Best Startup Accelerator. Content and inbound marketing specialist. He also worked at the Denver-based Colorado Innovation Network and on several Brazilian agencies, websites, and companies. He's also working for looking for everything in terms of startups and to mentors and partners that can benefit from a partnership with them. ACE Acceleration Program is open to new applicants always as well. We have Mr. Marcos Bortolato, who opened his first company while in university. He's worked with B2B and B2C segments, working through a project of technology. He's lived also in San Francisco and London, Ontario for 8 months. He's always loved marketing and has worked in all its applications. Over the last few years, he's also worked with inbound marketing and lead generation. He's also a partner in a gym center here in Rio and works with different small and medium-sized businesses. We also have Ilya Brodsky, who's a Canadian. He's based in Vancouver, but he's lived in Brazil many years. He's the CEO of Van Hack. He fosters economic development, national tech talent to get the skills and connections they need to join the Canadian tech market. He's also a mentor of Spring, where he facilitates the Kick Incubator and helped grow the program into one of Western Canada's largest early-stage incubators. He studied in Cornell, and he's lived 4 years in Brazil, working in the Brazilian startup community, where he helped raise over $500,000 in seed funding, closed over $300,000 in B2B sales, and acquired tens of thousands of customers. So he knows the Brazilian and the Canadian market very well. We wanted to then start working with some questions that we have set out, and I guess the order will be each one of you can answer, have your insights, and we'll keep on going to the other questions. And perhaps after 20-30 minutes, we can open the questions for the public that's participating, if you don't mind. Jumping into the first question, I guess the first question is a general one. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of an international startup to understand about marketing in the Brazilian market? Perhaps we can go in the order of the screen here. Having Fabio, would you give us your inputs first to the first question? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. For me, first, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. My colleagues are amazing backgrounds. For me, it's an honor and a privilege to be here. this question for me is one that I like very much, one of my favorites, this one and the first one. I think the most challenging aspect for me in Brazil in marketing, it's not a funny one to speak about, but I think it's the rules we have, that we have here in Brazil. But at the same time, this challenge, I think it's worth it. I think all companies, they have to understand that we are a community. We believe we are very strong on this, and then I think there's a biblical saying that says, "Know thy path." I think that when someone comes to Brazil, they have to understand and to speak locally with Brazilians, but not watching Brazil as a whole, because we are many countries in one. So I think we have to remember this when we speak to our public, and remember that Brazil are many countries in one. So know how to speak with these different publics, cultures, and characteristics. I think it's very important.
Excellent, thank you. That's a great start, Fabio. Thank you very much. Moving on to Felipe, perhaps. Can you give us some of your insights? Thank you.
Sure, let me unmute here. For me, the best insight is understanding the local culture, because even through Brazil, we have different cultures, northeast or southeast, or even big cities like São Paulo and Rio. There are really different cultures between them, and understand that the Brazilian culture and the Brazilian way of communicating is different is pretty much the biggest challenge for international brands. You can for sure have your brand essence, like your global essence, but you have to adapt some way of thinking to the Brazilian way. I think that's a major challenge for international companies.
Fantastic, thank you, Felipe. Moving on to Ilya. Ilya, your insights. Thank you.
Sure, great. So I'll definitely agree with what the last two guys said, because it really is true. Brazil is a country that has many countries in one. For me, a big challenge was just the language. So if you are a company that doesn't have a Brazilian on its team, or someone who doesn't speak Portuguese, hire someone local. That I think will be the biggest thing to help you, because it really is a challenge to jump in right away. It's not like expanding from Canada to the United States. It's a much different beast. So I'll have to agree that really is the biggest communication, or the biggest barrier and challenge in marketing to Brazilian audiences, is really understanding the regions, the regionality. That really is, as the other two said, the largest challenge. And for us foreigners, just knowing the different accents, or the different, I guess, cultural things, like some are more outgoing, and some different slangs. You might say one word in one part of the country, and in another part of the country it's offensive. So that's very, very important.
Fantastic. Ilya. Marcus, if you try. Thank you. Can you hear us, Marcus? Can you hear us, Marcus? Perhaps let's try it out.
Yeah. Hi.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Rafael, for the opportunity. I totally agree, my friends. The big challenge in Brazil is a multicultural country. It's totally different. But I think Canadians know about that, because Canada is the same situation. They have the same situation. British Columbia is completely different. It's like other country, completely different than Ontario or Quebec. They speak two languages. It's a very good example for country, multicultural country. And in addition, I think Brazil have a big challenge with infrastructure. For example, my internet today, it's so bad. And laws tools, like Fabio said. That's the point, huge points challenge in Brazil, I think.
Okay, I think we can continue to the other question regarding specific and marketing.
Yes. Can you hear me? I was going to get perhaps to more of the practical uses. Brazil is very big on social media, as we all know here. So what social media applications or platforms available online would you recommend for international startups to use in Brazil in their marketing strategies? What's out there that you recommend that needs to be used in Brazil if an international company wants to come in? Perhaps you can start with Ilya this time.
Sure. Yeah, so we use a lot of Facebook advertising, and it's been very, very effective for us because, well, first off, honestly, I don't know exactly the reason. I think I don't know if this will be applicable for other for other companies, depending on what you're selling or what you're promoting. But for us, we've been able to get an incredibly low cost per click and very high engagement on our Facebook advertising. So I would recommend you invest from day one, at least $5, $10, $15 a day into Facebook ads, and optimize that to make sure you're getting good return on investment. But it's a tool that shouldn't be ignored because you can really drive a lot of traffic to your sales pages and get a lot of conversions that way. So yeah, if you're not on Facebook in Brazil, well, you're definitely missing out a lot. And Facebook advertising specifically is extremely powerful. So yeah, I would recommend you use that. And there's a really great podcast called The Art of Paid Traffic that can help you understand how paid advertising works on Facebook and be able to use it well and get a good return on your investment.
Awesome, thank you, Ilya. So for the others, what is your experience doing marketing in social media? Besides Facebook, there is any other kind of platform that will work better to actually communicate with potential customers in Brazil? Is Felipe or Fabinho would like to speak about that?
I can answer that.
Okay.
Still going through Facebook, we have a study that shows that 45% of Brazilian whole population accesses Facebook every month. And you can go deep into the studies depending on your persona or your buyer's journey, and you can really invest in it. And Brazil is really strong in social media. I remember when Orkut wasn't really big on other countries, we had the biggest community on Orkut. And also you can use Twitter depending on who you're selling to or who you're promoting to. And also we have Snapchat growing through millennials. And even WhatsApp, even not being a social media, some brands and some newspapers are building a relationship with their publics through the messaging apps, so it can also be explored. LinkedIn for professional efforts, it's not so effective here in Brazil yet, but it's still developing. I should for sure bet on Facebook, Twitter, and maybe Snapchat if you're targeting millennials.
Can I just jump in about WhatsApp?
Yes,
I really have to just quickly second what Felipe said on WhatsApp. If you're trying to create a community, having a WhatsApp group is the best way to communicate directly with your audience. The only problem is that it's only 260 people, but if you're just starting out, creating a Facebook or a WhatsApp group is like people say, I don't know, for someone who's watching this, people wake up and say good morning on WhatsApp, just they're there all day talking, and it's the place to hang out. So I really agree with what Felipe said, and I think that's an underrated tool that people should look into.
Thank you, William. Thank you. Fabio, would you have any additions to this?
Yes, I would make a remark of what Ilya said, and Felipe, I agree totally with both of them. But WhatsApp It's funny for outside Brazil is not that huge. In Brazil is almost everyday communication. People speak with family and everybody, but we are speaking now about marketing and companies. But as Ilya said, I think it's WhatsApp it's not the future, it's the present. You know, we live through that in Brazil. So if I think everybody, any company should start to understand and to study how to behave on WhatsApp, even if the communication is not like Facebook, that you can put an ad and reaches everybody. It's different, but so that's why you have to study to understand how it behaves and how to behave in this not social media, as Philippe said, but it's huge, amazingly huge in Brazil. It's present all over.
Fantastic. That's how we've been communicating as well, through WhatsApp with all the speakers, some of them. Marcos, can you hear us? Marcos, can you add any insights as well?
Yeah, please. Yeah, totally. WhatsApp and Facebook. If you think about millions Brazilian, they are on Facebook and WhatsApp. But in addition, we have to think about Instagram, because Brazilians love picture, especially if your business is on healthy fitness in this area. Instagram, animals. If you think about the pets markets, Instagram it's a big deal for sure.
Can I add something on that answer?
Sure.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Marcos told about Instagram, and that triggered me. We have lots of Brazilian influenciators, like blogging and YouTubing. You have lots of YouTubers doing a great job here in Brazil, and Instagramming. So using their audience to promote your startup, your product, your marketing effort can also be very effective. If you choose the right influencer to your specific public, you can get lots of good return from this. Not really advertising, but this promotion.
Felipe, do you know any good portals that connect influencers with brands that maybe people can use to find that influencer for them?
We don't have maybe a marketplace for influencers, but if you do a little research, depending on which segment you are, you can easily find who has lots of fans and lots of YouTube subscribers, and also do the quality content, because we have some of the influencers with a big fan base that don't do a really nice and specific and quality content around your brand or something. So we can have like the humor channel, Porta dos Fundos, is a great channel. It's expensive, but it's a great channel to promote something through humor or something.
Cool. Maybe someone should create a marketplace.
I like to add a question for all of you, and I like to ask this question first to Ilya. I remember last year you were doing an event that it was all through different webinars, and it was more like a video, right? How effective is to actually do marketing through video? Because that is coming in a tendency these days, in different places. So in Brazil, to get it into the audience, you have talked about YouTube and you have talked about video. How effective is to do the webinars or interviews through, or promote your services through video?
Yeah, it's super effective. I would say it's the most effective medium right now, especially the kind of 30 to 45-second clips that you can put on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, especially Facebook video. Another thing I would say that's really growing is Facebook Live and Periscope. I think now Facebook Live is pretty much going to kill Periscope. I'm sure everyone. Well, anyway, I think that's probably going to happen. Just prediction. But yeah, video. Whether it's a pre-shot video that you use for a Facebook ad, or just generally putting on your page, or if you're live, I think that people really enjoy that one-to-one or that in-person live conversation, just like we're doing right now on the webinar. Actually, webinars, speaking of that, are a very, very good way to market in, in Brazil, but also around the world. But in Brazil, we've been finding that webinars are really, really great. People are very social, so talking to them, having conversations during webinars, or Facebook Live or any kind of video chat is really the future. And I see this is a trend that's going forward to virtual reality as well, eventually. So right now we're all kind of in different rooms around the world, but hopefully, well, not hopefully, I'm sure the next 3 to 5 years we'll all be in the same room. At least it'll feel like we're all in the same room virtually. So yeah, I think that this is really the future of communication in general, and I think Brazil will maybe not be right there with the US and Canada and Europe in terms of adoption, but when Brazil does adopt a technology, it spreads fast, and it's a huge population of people that will be using it and will be open to being marketed to. So you should definitely be looking into that in the Brazilian space.
Thank you, Ilya. I think Marcos wanted to say something, so sorry, I was just interrupting you.
Yeah, thanks, Miriam, pardon. Just answer the question, Ilya question. I know a startup they call celebrities, right? They are like a marketplace for YouTubers, and I know about YouTubers. I don't know if they include Instagrams, but for sure YouTubers, celebrities. They call celebrities. They are based in São Paulo.
Awesome, thank you, Marcos. I don't know if the others have any questions or anything to add to the part of to do marketing through video. Fabinho or Felipe, did you want to add something about that?
I think marketing through video and webinars and things, they do actually work here in Brazil. We have this maybe this screen situation. We're always watching to something. Television is something really big here. We have big channels and it's really big, but still the competition through online videos, since we're so used to television, it's growing and growing.
And I would add, as Felipe was saying, that one important issue here in Brazil is that the lower classes, they stick to cell phones and social media very much, and they use Facebook a lot, and everything that is new for them is very important, because that's a sense of belonging when they use this kind of technology. So video and Facebook Live, all that stuff here is very strong. So I think videos and webinars and everything, it's working here. One day I was in a doctor and he was asking me about this webinar celebrity, and I heard about the guy because we work with that, but I was asking why my doctor is asking about this guy, because it's part of the life nowadays, I think.
Perfect, thank you so much. So Rafa, you are going to take from here, right? Again?
We're the one who brought up the question about different Brazil and going a little bit, maybe perhaps offline, not so much to online companies. The next question is, Brazil has a very diverse ecosystem. It's not just São Paulo and Rio. What are your suggestions in regards to marketing and reaching out to other cities in Brazil? Should the marketing be the same throughout the country? Why or why not? And I want to start with Marcos because he's the one who started talking about the different Brazils in Brazil. Your insights, Marcos. Marcos. No, I'm sorry, Fabio, please.
Okay, I think we all agree. We all said in different ways about this. No, I don't think that the marketing campaigns should be the same. Of course, there's a budget impact when you do this kind of stuff, but nowadays you can reach a lot of people with very low budgets, as Ilya was saying about Facebook and stuff. But I really believe that when you speak that local accent, I think I think everywhere. I think this is true abroad. This is a universal truth. But I can guarantee, and as everybody's saying, is watching, we all agree with that, that in Brazil this is very important because we are all Brazilians, we all feel part of Brazil, we all love Brazil, but we are also very proud of our cities, our states. So to speak that when somebody is watching an advertising or something, and when you can see that it's local, it's your city, it's your state, it's really important because you are there. You are a company that are there, that know those people, that want to speak with these people in their language, in their accent. So I don't think it's smart if you do one kind of language to all of Brazil. That's my opinion, and I think we all agree with that.
Excellent, thank you, Fabio. Perhaps before opening questions to the participants, anybody else has insights on this question about marketing throughout Brazil?
Yeah, I'll just jump in quickly. I completely agree. I just have to maybe say if you're a startup that's thinking about jumping into Brazil right now, maybe just start slow because it is a little bit overwhelming. There are a lot of different cultures and languages, or not languages, accents or idioms depending on the region. So just start slow. Just make sure you have your Portuguese correct. Like that's hard enough. And then from there, I would segment and kind of focus on different regions and maybe different classes within the regions, etc. But if you're just starting out, let's say you're a Canadian company that wants to market to Brazil in general, just market to the entire country and then see how that looks like. And maybe talk to Brazilians on the ground that can help you and say, well, for your product, helicopters, you should probably focus on Sao Paulo. Surfboards, probably on Florianopolis, kind of thing. So you should really, don't get overwhelmed by what we were saying, because I feel like someone might be worried that, okay, I have to really do these demographic searches. No, just create a fan page in Portuguese. I know Unbounced, it's a local Vancouver startup that does landing pages, just hired a marketing manager for Brazil, and they're doing really great content. And I think it's just generic for the entire country. That's good to start, and then as you go, you kind of segment it down. But yeah, don't be overwhelmed by our advice. I think it could easily happen.
That's good. Thank you, Ilya. I have another question regarding, offline marketing. When you actually want to reach those companies that are still not very engaged with social media and the rest, we have many traditional companies, big companies that can be still, buying your products or services. If you're producing software, you're producing any other kind of products, but they are still pretty much offline. How to reach those kind of companies? Can we start probably with Felipe?
My sound got a little bad. What did you ask again, please?
Oh yeah, I was asking how you can actually reach those companies that are not so reachable through social media, those that are still kind of offline, and they are still worth it because there are corporations or big companies in traditional sectors that can buy your services or product. How will be a good marketing strategy to reach them?
Sure. I was going to add about a social media question, that it doesn't resolve all of your problems, especially if you're B2B, and I imagine lots of Canadian startups want to do business with Brazilian traditional companies. Make a Facebook page or a Snapchat page or any page won't do the trick. You need to maybe have a local team or even a local guy who speaks Portuguese and has some connections, and you can reach them through meetings or through really reaching out them. Maybe the passive inbound strategy or social media strategy won't be effective enough, because think about a traditional Brazilian company who doesn't know anything about you. So you can do some research and everything, but you still need someone to shake hands. In Brazil, we have something called efeito cafezinho, that Brazilian CEOs and big prospects and marketing, they are used to make meetings and conversations with foreigners and other companies that want to provide services to them. but they don't do like, for example, in France or US, they just shake hands and agree or don't agree. You have some time to spend and convince them. It's the efeito cafezinho, so you really want to have maybe a local team or local person and start small. Ilya was telling about if you're a surfboard firm, start on the coast for sure, but start on one city, see if it fits, and then you expand.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your advice. So any other inputs on how to reach offline companies that are worth it for many startups?
Yeah, I just have to agree. The fake to cafezinho is really, really important. So there's nothing beats being in person, shaking hand, and just going to events. I think that are in conferences that really can maybe be like a one thing you do that lets you have coffee with a lot of people. So I know we were at Case last year, Rafael, and there's a lot of other conferences that people can go down to in Brazil. I think could really be an effective way of doing that in person, face-to-face business networking with a lot of people in a short amount of time.
Thank you. Any other of the participants? Yeah, Marcos?
Yeah. I have a personal case. Right? I'm partner of gym center, so flying business, and we have just one branch, and we use Facebook for advertising on Facebook, and it's very effective for us because Facebook they have you can set 1 mile around your local business, and I think local business can use social media for your advertising as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcos. So if you agree, if you don't have any other insights about how to reach offline companies, then we can go to questions. Yes, Felipe, do you want to say something?
I would place some effort and strategy on PR too. Brazilians, traditionally, we trust the media. So if your company does a PR strategy and appears on a newspaper or a news journal or even some cool blogs, you have more reference to do your meetings or to be introduced to offline companies.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a great point to consider, for sure.
I completely agree. We just did it recently, and it worked really well.
Thank you. So we have at this point one question from the audience, and please, for the others that are looking at this point and are watching our webinar, we are opening up questions right now. So you can send us the questions to LatAm Startup contact at latamstartup.biz or through the hashtag LatAm Startups. We are paying attention to your questions or your comments during this webinar. But in the meantime, we have already one question here. And this question, it comes from London, Ontario. And this person is asking us if could I start a marketing strategy in social media before I visit Brazil, or you find necessary to go to Brazil for the first before I start any marketing campaign? Sorry, it was a long question. So if my understanding is that this person wants to know if he can start a marketing strategy through social media before he goes to Brazil, or he first has to visit Brazil.
I will answer.
Yeah.
I think you can. I don't know. It's of course, if you visit, you have a lot of inputs. You'll be wiser about the Brazilian, about the Brazilian important issues to your company. But of course, I think you can. But what's your company? What your company offers to Brazilians? And you have a nice content. I think content is everything. So if what your company sells or the service you provide Brazilians can relate to it, can learn about it, can use it, and your company is not here, I don't think it's a problem. I really don't think so. But if you can be here, like Philippe said, like Ilya said, like Marco said, I think it's amazing, because you will learn so much faster about our market, about our stuff, about our issues. So it's about speed. If you want to grow faster and to learn faster, I think you should be here.
Perfect. Thank you, Fabinho. Any other insight to this person about to start a marketing strategy before actually going to Brazil?
Yeah.
You can go, Ilya.
No, please.
Okay. It's a good subject, so we always want to talk about it. It depends if you're selling, what you're selling and to who you're selling here in Brazil. Like if you're selling to offline companies, maybe it's not the great idea. But if you're selling a nice product and you have, as Fabinho said, a good content to offer, you can for sure start a social media strategy from Canada without ever going to Brazil. You just need to understand Brazilian customer needs and your customer needs, and maybe have something in Portuguese depending on what you're selling, and with a good content will for sure help.
Thank you, Felipe. So, Ilya, do you want to say something?
Yeah, one strategy might be to start marketing online before you arrive, and then promote your arrival that way. So let's say you are going to a conference and you really want to meet some people that could be customers or suppliers or partners for you. A month before, 2 months before, do a big push on social media explaining why you're going to the conference, what you're going to be doing, who you are. Try and set up as many meetings as possible. Have Google Hangouts and Skype calls with people, so then when you do arrive, you use your time well, because it is an investment to take the trip and the hotel and everything. So I think it could be a combination of both. One helps the other.
Thank you so much. Now we have a second question here. This person is from Toronto, is asking us, how often shall I post in Facebook to get the attention of the Brazilian people? So it's difficult to say, because we have to actually know the service. If you can clarify that, if you're listening right now, the kind of company that you have. But in the meantime, that is a good question to ask to you guys. As you have mentioned it before, that you post in Facebook, how often do you do that? Who likes to start?
I can start.
Okay.
I don't practice what I preach. That's one funny stuff. I'm not we do a lot of business on Facebook, daily business on Facebook, and I think we all here love what Facebook has to offer for companies and for clients. But I'm not as a person. I don't post very much on Facebook. All my clients, they make jokes about it, and it's a sad truth. But I don't know how to answer without knowing your business. How often should you post? But I think you cannot have a very long space in your posts, because it looks like an empty relationship. But if you post every day, but your content is not strong, and if it looks like you are just trying to be there every day, so your posts, they are not smart, they are not they don't know, you don't know what you're speaking about. You are just trying to be there. I don't think that's worth it as well. So it's all about content, as we said. So you really should focus. You must understand what you want to know, and have a story to tell. So one day you say something, and then a little more, and then a little more, so everybody can understand what you are selling or what you are trying to say. But without knowing your product, I just can't say how often should you post. But you should post, not all the time, because it gets tiring, and not leave that silence, because it's strange.
Okay, thank you. Any other insights for that question?
Yes. Of course, it's very difficult to answer this question. but uh, I think Canadian people or American people, they are very direct. They go straight on the point. And okay, my point is that American people or Canadian peoples like to say that. Okay, my point is, they go straight, and Brazilian people, they are completely different. they they circle around the question. They think don't go straight in Brazil. Like maybe it's offensive. Maybe it doesn't work very well.
Okay, anybody else?
I would say just a good rule of thumb is 2 to 3 times a day. Just of course, don't just post stuff just for the sake of posting it, like Fabiola said. But I think it's just 2-3 times a day, at least once a day is enough. But it really depends on what you're trying to do, and I think you'll start seeing how many people see your posts, how many people react to your posts, how many people like your posts. Then that can help you gauge what's better. And there's a lot of content out there from people who are much more qualified than we are about how to use social media and Facebook to post. And I think it's not necessarily different between countries in terms of like frequency. Content and strategy is different, but I think frequency is something that could be universal.
Okay, perfect. And I have to say, people don't need to actually, stick to the computer and posting. You have tools like Hootsuite, that actually you can schedule things for your Facebook or Twitter or whatever you do during your day to communicate with your customers. Sorry, Felipe, now you go.
Thanks. I think it's less about the frequency you post and more about what you're posting. So if you post 8 times a day and it's not really nice, you won't have any results. But if you post like twice a week, but it's pretty awesome content and not just only talking about what you serve and what you do, but about the market or about how you can solve the pain that your persona is having. If you post twice a week or once a week or whichever you think is better, but you do awesome content, it's really better than you post 8 times a day or anything like that and don't do like cool content.
Perfect. That's really important to consider that this is something that we repeat all the time. We need to have good content in order to actually get good sales. And of course, everybody knows about storytelling, to get really good stories there of how you have resolved a problem for a client in the past, or how do you think about how you can resolve this problem that the society or people have right now with your services. So this is really important as well to transmit to any kind of customer, independently if it's in Brazil or not. The storytelling is really important. So we are finishing up here with the 2 questions. If it comes more questions, we are going to reach our guest and to ask them, to please to help us with any other advice, specific advice about how to enter to Brazil. We want to remind you, this is the month where Brazil is in the spotlight. So we are actually, creating a white paper with all these insights. So you will see at the end of this month, we are going to have a special white paper made with all the information that we have collected during the different webinars, LatAm chats, and some other research that we have done here to highlight the Brazilian startup ecosystem. And just to finalize, we are going to have a great meetup here in Toronto. And we are going to have a Brazil Tech Night with a company from Brazil called Occasio that is going to actually oh, no, it's not Occasio. Occasio is yours, Rafael. This is sorry, Rafael. The other company that we are going to have here is from Wallace Santos. He's a Brazilian startup that actually started in Brazil and scaled up in Canada. and he has a great story how he did that and how he got the support from the Communitech and from the Canadian ecosystem here to actually start business. And yeah, finalizing here, we have our LatAm Startups conference at the end of in October. So please be there. We are going to have Startup Brazil there as well as some other Latin American startup communities there. So thank you so much for everybody for being here and for paying attention to the marketing tips and tools. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you so much.